All right, so on that note, we will be beginning. I hope कि आप सब, all of you are doing really well. I'll just get the live chat up and running also. All right, just a second, and yeah. All right, so I hope कि all of you can hear me properly and there is no network issue because there was one. All right, very good afternoon to all of you. Swarnam, Middat, Isham, Anushka, Sarthak, Janvi, very good afternoon. Now before we begin, once again I want to inform all of you that do ensure कि आप CLAT Combat के लिए register करें, or if you have not registered till now, make sure that you do register for it right away, because this is a amazing opportunity for all of you. It is an exciting live quiz in which all of you will be participating. So make sure that you do participate in it, you prepare for it well, because this will be a 60-minute 50-question test on February 27 at 3 p.m. So take your time. The link is in the description box, and do make sure that you register today itself at the earliest. It will be a live quiz. If you are a subscriber to Unacademy, then this is part of your preparation. Even if you are even if you do not intend to subscribe also, then also this is an amazing opportunity for all of you to be part of an exciting quiz contest which will be of 60 minutes, and it will be interactive, because while you are giving the quiz also you will get the chance to prepare for it, right? You can see live score, how you are comparing across all the other students who will be participating in it across the country. So make sure that you do register for it. Use the code KUSHGK to register for it live. Okay. With that, if you are watching me for the very first time, I'm Kushagra Goyal, a graduate from National Law University, a master's in economics. I've assisted students to achieve AIR 4, AIR 16 and 100 plus CLAT selections. And another information for all of you, that our notes, आज के जो notes होंगे वो बहुत important है. So make sure that you check them out on bit.ly/KUSHGK notes, या आप उनको Unacademy की community page /YGRJJZ पे भी फाइंड आउट कर सकते हैं. दोनों का लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन के अंदर दिया हुआ है. एंड अगर आपको कोई भी डाउट होता है तो डू रीच आउट टू मी ऑन कुशाग्र गोयल द लीगल गेम _Unacad. सो ऑन दैट नोट, लेट्स बिगिन आवर टुडेज न्यूज़पेपर एनालिसिस. अब सबसे बड़ी न्यूज़ यही है, फर्स्ट ऑफ देम इज de-escalation of Russia-Ukraine tensions a top priority, and that West responds to Russia move with new sanctions. अब हुआ क्या है? कल भी हमने we had discussed this, that yesterday also what has happened now, that Russia has recognized these two provinces, all right, the two of them that you can see on your screen, Luhansk and Donetsk, as independent nations of the world. That Luhansk Democratic Republic or Luhansk People's Republic LPR and Donetsk People's Republic are now recognized as official countries by Russia, and that Russia will be moving in Russian peacekeeper troops to ensure that Ukraine does not take over these territories. Ab, two things to be noted here. One, why has it led to sanctions by different countries? Because right now the separatists only control a part of this. Okay? When we say that a country or anyone controls a part of a territory, the term that is used in is known as oblast. Okay? The term, जब भी हम ऐसा कहते हैं कि कोई एक territory, alright, let's say this territory, and I am claiming half of it. Okay? So the half region that I am claiming is known or will be called as oblast. Okay? इसका नाम, this term you can find out here. Okay? All right. So in this regard, the two regions which have been recognized, and that Russia will be moving in their territories. Okay. Now in that regard, what for us, the first thing to be noted is कि अगर रशिया ने किसी टेरिटरी को recognize किया है as a country, what is the definition of a country and where do we call or say कि so and so is a country and so is not a country. Can I claim, let's say, that this house of mine is a country? You will not believe me, right? The intrinsic principle of all of this is the Montevideo Convention, all right? Montevideo Convention is a treaty, it's an international treaty जहाँ पे एक definition दी हुई है of a state as a person of international law. अगर आपको अपने आप को कंट्री कहना है तो आपके पास 4 चीजें मिनिमम होनी चाहिए, ऑल राइट? व्हाट आर द 4 क्वालिफिकेशंस टू बिकम अ कंट्री? फर्स्ट, a permanent population. Okay, the first ground is permanent population. Second, a defined territory. Third, a government. And fourth, capacity to enter into relations with other country or other states. Okay, so these 4 qualifications is something that is given in Article 1 of the Montevideo Convention. Okay. ये चारों notes, all 4 qualifications becomes very important. Why? Because right now अगर हम ये देखें तो until now what was happening in Donetsk and Luhansk, there was a defined population, people who live here, there was a defined government, there was a defined territory, but there was no ability to engage in relationship with other countries. But this has now changed. How has it changed? Because Russia has recognized these two as separate states. So the first step of recognition has happened. Something that has not yet happened with the government of Taliban in Afghanistan. No country has officially recognized or started diplomatic relationship with them. So that is a differentiating factor, okay? That capacity to enter into relations with other states. This is missing for Taliban in Afghanistan. This is what Russia has done, and that is why sanctions are now being imposed by different Western countries, okay, on Russian individuals, Russian banks, people who engage in trade with Russia, okay. So this is the distinction, and the concept of a nation becomes very, very important, okay. Now, in this convention only is another thing which has given Russia the strength, ठीक है? Article 3 states political existence of state is independent to recognition of other states. मतलब एक country politically recognized नहीं भी हो by other states, it still has the capacity, even before recognition, has the right to defend its integrity and independence and to provide for its conservation and prosperity, consequently to organize itself as it deems fit. इस आर्ग्यूमेंट को यूज करके ही रशिया हैज मूव्ड इन पीस कीपर्स, दैट यूक्रेन माइट और डिफरेंट वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज माइट ट्राई टू take away the right of these two independent countries. So to protect them, I am moving my troops here, okay? The exercise of these rights has no other limitation than the exercise of the rights of other states according to law. जब तक आप किसी और देश की राइट्स का हनन नहीं कर रहे हो, until and unless you are not impeding upon the rights of other countries, you can defend yourself, okay? This is where the contention is. Ukraine says that this is not independent country but is part of my own territory. ये मेरी territory है, all right? And these two countries are stating that no, you do not control us, we are independent on our own, okay? So this is what we have to note down. Sir, now in terms of your question, sir, NLEO में कितना कट ऑफ जाएगा estimated? देखो आप लोगों को for your CLAT preparation cutoffs can only be told once the exam is over, okay? The focus for all of you should right now be अभी preparation के time पे on maximizing your rank instead of focusing on any particular cutoff score, okay? Sir, इसमें Kaliningrad in Europe falls in Oblast region, that is not important. Sir, can you explain Oblast again? Oblast is basically एक टेरिटरी है, लेट्स से योर हैंड इटसेल्फ, राइट? द फिंगर्स and the palm. Okay, you can differentiate it. So now if let's say someone controls part of your hand, okay, all of this is called hand together, but these are fingers and this is the palm. Someone controls this part, the finger part, and not the palm part. So palms can be called oblast of the hand. Okay, whatever is left out of the hand that is not in your control is the oblast. So oblast is within an enclave. Okay, half of the areas of any province. This is only half of Luhansk and Donetsk, not anything else. Okay, fourth क्या है country वाले में? Fourth, see the four principles. So now that we are concluding this, once again this is something you have to note down. Article 1 of Montevideo Convention, permanent population, defined territory, a government, and fourth is capacity to enter into relation excuse me, capacity to enter into relations with other states, बाकी राज्यों से connect करने का अधिकार. All right, this is what the four principles of Montevideo Convention are, and this is, even if not signed by other countries, is acceptable definition for all international states. Okay, and article 3 is what Russia has used to strengthen its own case for defending the two independent countries. Okay, so this is what we have to note down in regard to this. Now, why is this Russia moving in peacekeepers another question of complex? The speculation is that right now Russia controls Crimea as part of its own territory, not as independent nation. But Russia does not have a land route to Crimea. So there is speculation that Russia may capture this much part of the territory to build a land route directly into Crimea. This is what US security agencies have informed the world, that this could be the Russian claim, that along the river Dnieper, all right, Dnieper, along the coast of the river, Russia will capture all the territories on this side of the river, that is the eastern side of the river. That is what the plan of Russia is as of now. अब बाकी सब speculation है, the facts is something that we have to believe in. Okay, clear? So on that note, we will be moving on. Now, other updated news for us is the panel on AFSPA removal misses its 45-day deadline. ये panel कौन सी थी? This panel was set up by the Home Ministry to discuss whether Nagaland should be retained as a disturbed area within the country. AFSPA is applied in all such countries which have or which are notified as disturbed areas. Okay, any territory that is notified as disturbed areas, वहाँ पे AFSPA लगाया जाता है. So after the events of December 4, there was large scale protest in Nagaland that AFSPA should be removed from the state. उसके लिए Home Ministry had set up a committee, and the Chief Minister of Nagaland, that is Nipu Rio, he had pointed out that this committee will conclude its findings in 45 days. But the deadline has been missed. In 45 days, no review of whether Nagaland should be on the disturbed area category for AFSPA has not been confirmed. However, as per the Home Ministry, the doctrine is that this will happen, or the report will come out in 3 months. Okay, clear? इसका मतलब another question के अलावा और भी regions वो capture कर लेगा. That is a speculation. All right, what Russia may do is speculative in future. Okay, then we move on now to other news. So fourth phase of UP election today, not important for us. Center cracks down on Punjab Politics TV, not important for us. So the ground for restriction of the name, the news channel name, that is Punjab Politics TV, is a news channel. App, social media accounts of channel blocked for disturbing public order. Disturbing public order, what is it? It is a reasonable restriction on Article 90. Okay, on this grounds, even private channels or anyone in the country has the right to free speech in India. But disturbing public order is a reasonable restriction. अगर आप ऐसा कर रहे हो और if you are trying to instigate violence or create enmity between countries or between communities, then that is known as a reasonable restriction on Article 19. Okay, this is the notification. This is all that we have to note down there, the channel name. Okay, apart from this, on the front page, nothing of note for us. Moving on, Delhi civic polls, not important for us. Then we move on, more polls, nothing of note. Now, in this regard, in this news, what is important for us is not who can be the presidential candidate, because the president's post will fall vacant at the end of the year. But what is interesting to note is the electoral college of the president. So President of India is selected through an electoral college, that is, he or she is indirectly elected. So the electoral college of the President of India's election is all elected members of Parliament plus all elected members of state assemblies. So no nominated members. ये question बहुत बार आता है, can nominated members of Rajya Sabha vote in the elections of the president? No, they cannot. Okay, president के लिए there is an electoral college who all are part of it, elected members of Rajya Sabha, elected members of Lok Sabha and elected members of state assembly. Legislative councils जो state में होती है, they are not part of the electoral college of the presidential election in India. The president is indirectly elected. यही important part है about this. Then we move on. Nothing of note. Then we come to the editorial page. So the editorial page has two things. Russian recognition. So recognition क्या होता है वो हमने discuss कर लिया है already. Okay. That is something that we have already discussed, that the Russian President Vladimir Putin has already recognized Donetsk and Luhansk as separate nations. In that regard, they have also led to, जो बात हमने front page पे discuss करी कि it has led to failure of Minsk Accord. This is something जो हमने कल बात करी थी. Then moving of peacekeepers into the area of territories of Donetsk and Luhansk. That is something we discussed on front page. Okay. Now the future speculation कि how this will impact or how this will increase tensions between the world countries is something that is all known to us. हम इसके बारे में पूरे 2 हफ्तों से we have been discussing about it on a daily basis. What it also points out on the last paragraph is that how this will differentiate or make the relationship of India vis-a-vis Russia more and more precarious. Russia has been a close ally of India and historically also, but now the relationship can become more and more difficult. India has moved closer to Western countries. Russia has moved closer and closer to China, and while the tensions is ongoing, Vladimir Putin is going to meet the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Pakistan is an adversary of India. So that shows that how the relationship between the two countries may now be getting differentiated in future. Alright, how this could also lead. अब इसमें एक और चीज़ है. This article points out that the timing of the tensions is all the more inconvenient given that delivery of Russian S-400 missile system is underway and US administration is still to decide on whether to impose or not CAATSA sanctions against India. India has purchased the S-400 missile system from Russia, which is a defensive mechanism, okay, over the US counterpart, which is the THAAD and the Patriot system. Now, what is CAATSA sanctions? CAATSA is Countering American Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. इस act में ये होता है कि if you are purchasing equipments from countries that are of American adversaries, that is Russia, Iran, North Korea, then sanctions can be imposed on those countries to trade with America. Now, US has still not decided whether they will impose sanctions on India or not. For example, they imposed sanctions on Turkey by removing them from the F-35 fighter jet or 5th generation aircraft system. If India is now that the situation of relationship between America and Russia changes, it could lead to sanctions on India also. That is a speculation. Fact नहीं है, speculation है. Okay, so हमें act पता होना चाहिए. What is CATSA? Countering American Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. Okay, and why is it about the S-400 missile system? That is all that we have to talk about. China does not come under adversaries primarily because US doesn't see China as a major arms exporting country for its main allies. All right, as of now, nobody sees Chinese equipment to be far more superior than the Russian equipment that are available in the market. So CATSA में Chinese sanctions अभी तक नहीं है. Then the next editorial on the left hand side is about a class for itself. Kerala must give up government pension as political patronage. This article is specifically for Kerala. A new controversy has come up that Kerala में 1982 से, for example, I become a minister in Kerala government, I can employ 22 now 30 individuals, and the moment those individuals have completed 2 years of work under the minister as an advisor या office के अंदर clerk or any other position, driver, chef, any position, they will then become entitled to a government pension of 3,500 rupees till the end of their life. Now, this is something that the governor of Kerala has pointed out, कि it happens nowhere in the country where employees of ministers get a pension while state employees and different permanent government employees are now being denied pension benefits. So therefore, either you make it uniform for everyone or you remove it for everyone. Ideally, 2-year ka employment is not something that should entitle you for pension. For example, Air Force में or Army में, until and unless you work for 20 years, you are not entitled to pension benefits. But here you are entitled to pension benefit for by working for only 2 years. So this is the discrepancy that the article is talking about and why it should be done away with. Then on the right hand side, the main editorial is talking about untangling Kerala's Lokayukt controversy. The Kerala government has brought in कि जो Lokayukt Act है. अब the question is what is Lokpal and Lokayukt? Okay, the Lokpal or Lokayukt is an ombudsman system. All right, what is the purpose of it? The purpose of it is that political office or political corruption को deal करने के लिए, that there should be an independent body that will deal with the corruption issue. For example, the Delhi Chief Minister and the Aam Aadmi Party came to prominence in the country only through the India Against Corruption movement, where they wanted the position of Lokpal and Lokayukt in every state and free corruption. All right, that was one of the major controversy prior to 2011-12. That was a big issue. That was one of the reason why the government, the UPA government was seen as corrupt. Okay, so they implemented the Lokpal Act. Now, Lokpal as an idea had been first mooted all the way back in 1966 by Morarji Desai, or the fourth Prime Minister of India, that is Morarji Desai. But that bill was never realized, it lapsed, and finally the Lokpal Act was implemented in the year of 2013. So this is the act of Lokpal and Lokayukt Act. Lokpal is for central government, matlab up to the office of Prime Minister, his advisors, political functionaries, all of them can be investigated. For example, anyone can file a complaint in Lokpal to state that there is political corruption happening, or there is these officials are demanding pay cut for whatever work for certain favors or certain services that they ought to offer. Lokayukt is at state level. Okay, this editorial is pointing out how a recent controversy has come up कि Lokayukt can order the governor to dismiss the chief minister if corruption is confirmed against such an individual. For example, let's say a person who is the current chief minister, unke against corruption cases have been confirmed. So the controversy is कि Lokpal can order removal of that person. The government is stating कि ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. You can never, governor can never dismiss a chief minister. Okay, they do appoint it, but they cannot dismiss them unless they lose majority in the house. So this is, then the article points out कि no, ideally that can be true based on the provisions of the law कि अगर someone is convicted of corruption, then they can be removed, because corruption is also an offense. Anyone who is convicted of offenses above the 2-year margin. For example, कल की headline थी लालू प्रसाद यादव, who is a former chief minister of Bihar and a union minister. He was given 5 years of imprisonment, which is more than 2 years of imprisonment. Anyone with more than 2 years of imprisonment can be removed from public office. If you cannot remain in public office, तो आप chief minister भी नहीं रह सकते. So ideally you can be removed. Other part of it is all about कि what is the system of Lokpal, what are the offices, all of this. ठीक है? The most important one that we have to note down from here, okay, is the article number, that is article 164. Okay, chief minister or minister holds office during the pleasure of the governor, that is article 164. This is only the important thing that you have to note down. Okay, what is the meaning of Lokpal and Lokayukt? Lokpal and Lokayukt, per se the words mean a person who can oversee. Okay, the concept of Lokpal and Lokayukt is borrowed from Scandinavian countries, okay, Norway and Sweden, जहाँ पे a separate body known as the, I'll point out the word also, this is being used in this editorial also somewhere. One second. Yep. On your screen you can see the word ombudsman. All right, this is the concept. Political corruption had become rampant by then. It was brought, a credible system of an ombudsman should be established to redress public grievances against public officials and ministers in the government. What does the ombudsman or Lokpal Lokayukt do? They are an office which can, where the public can point out corruption offences, okay, against members of the government or public officials. All right, so this is what we have to note down. Then very good afternoon to you also, Rishi. Lokayukt means total. All right, then we come to the editorial. A new measure of inflation is brewing on the horizon. This editorial picks out कि a British anti-poverty activist that is Miss Jack Monroe, she has come up with a new concept of measuring inflation. महंगाई को measure कैसे करते हैं? अब उसके regard में it points out how do we measure inflation right now. So we see consumer in or CPI. All right, so we have the concept of CPI, consumer level inflation, or we have retail level inflation. That is the term that we use, right? Now in India, what we have is a 4 concept series. Okay, inflation is measured at CPI of different levels. Inflation for industrial workers, agricultural laborers, urban level, okay, and rural level. Okay, the focus for us is, this article points out कि consumer price index, the CPI, वो बनता कैसे. All right, so first I'm going to tell you a little about the CPI itself. Now you do not have to note it down, but you have to understand. So the article points out कि consumer price index, अभी the headline was that consumer price index was at 6.1% in the previous quarter. कि महंगाई का percentage based on last month there has been a 6.1% increase in prices. Okay, so how do we arrive at 6.1%? Okay, so the body that deals with our entire idea of corruption, who measures corruption, inflation in the economy, is National Statistics Office, NSO, okay, which works under the Department for Labor and Statistics. Okay, now how do we arrive at 6.1%? क्या data we collect in percentage or in absolute terms to arrive at inflation? कि क्या चीज की price कितनी बढ़ गई है? So we have two levels, okay? First is India has a group of ideas, okay? This is for 2021. In total, there are 6 categories that are kept in mind for overall consumer price index inflation, okay? What are the categories? The first is food and beverages. Then we have pan, supari, tobacco, intoxicants. Then we have clothing and footwear. Then we have housing, fuel and light, and then we have miscellaneous items, okay? And overall general index. अब क्या होता है? These are major groups. इनको एक percentage assign किया जाता है कि this is the total percentage. All right. So what does the government then do? हर महीने इन कैटेगरीज में ओवरऑल प्राइस कंपैरिजन किया जाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल फॉर ईयर 2021 द प्राइस ऑफ लेट्स से एग्स, ओके, इन जनवरी इट वाज 120.8 and by the time of December the price was 125.6. So you can say that there has overall through the year there was a 5 rupee increase in the price of eggs, okay. This is just one example. So the category for them is food and beverages. अब food and beverages में 11 items कम, okay? इनको भी सब क्लासीफाई किया जाता है, जैसे कि सीरियल्स एंड प्रोडक्ट्स, पल्सेस एंड प्रोडक्ट्स, मिल्क एंड मिल्क प्रोडक्ट. वो कैसे किया जाता है? उसका एक और आइटम है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस, okay, this is the total list of all the items that are measured in our inflation. Now this is primarily to give you sense of what this article is all about, okay. The article then moves to criticize the inflation numbers. For example, the article is stating कि क्या होता है, the impact of inflation is felt differently on different people, but we measure it at a uniform level. So अब सबसे पहली बात ये होती है, you have to understand how it is different. So for that to happen, we have to know the items. So for example, under food and beverages, okay, under the category of food and beverages, the government in total, okay, keeps a list of how many items? In total, the government measures 465 items for inflation. The total in all these 6 categories, okay, 6 categories में total number of items is 495. Even torch, umbrella, their prices is also maintained. Stationery of all kinds, tuition and other fees of colleges, clock, wristwatch, comb, hairbrush, all of these items are collectivized in an inflation table, okay. Now why is this something that we are discussing, okay? This is because the editorial talks about the impact of inflation. Inflation is a very important topic for our current affairs, okay? So in that regard, who creates inflation data in India? National Statistics Office. How do we measure inflation at our level? Consumer Price Index. How many items are there in the Consumer Price Index? 6 groups, okay? So how will you note it down? There are a total of 6 groups that look at 465 items, okay, 465 items. Clear? This is how we measure inflation in our economy, okay. This is something that you have to measure. Yes, NSO measures, National Statistics Office measures the inflation. 6 groups, 465 items to prepare inflation at industrial worker level or for what we see. क्योंकि the other fact that we have noted is inflation has to always be kept in the range of 2 to 6% range. ठीक है? This is the range of inflation in our economy. All right. Now, what is this new idea that is being proposed? The new idea that is being proposed is कि, all right. So I have moved this on the side. Jack Monroe is proposing that the impact of inflation is different on different individuals. For example, let's pick up an item here. Let's come back to our egg example. Okay, now, or let's take fuel and light. Okay, so fuel prices were originally in January at 136.4, and by the end of the year they were 157.7. so there has been a 20% of absolute increase in the prices of fuel. अब किस इंडिया के अंदर एवरेज वर्कर हु इज अ डेली वेज वर्कर, ओके, उनकी सैलरी अगर इंक्रीज नहीं हुई है और देयर एवरेज सैलरी ऑन अ डेली बेसिस इज less than 500, okay, always less than 500, that is the level. The impact of fuel increase will be most profoundly felt on the lives of such individuals. इस वजह से inflation का data should be changed, okay, that is the idea that this article is pointing out. The other side of the story is it is pointing out how poor remain poor in the long term because they sometimes, let's say, purchase goods that are not effective enough in the long run. For example, someone buys a cheap phone. A cheap phone will only last for 2 years, but someone's expensive iPhone may last for 7 to 8 years. So what happens is a poor person may buy a phone every year for 2 to 3,000 rupees, and by the end of 7 or 8 years, he or she may be paying actually far more than an expensive phone, but by the end of 8th year they may not have any phone at all. An example of it is based on a novel known as Men at Arms, okay, which talks about Sam Wine's boot theory. What is this boot theory? A person bought boots of $50, okay, these boots will last for 10 years. B bought boots of $10. These boots only last for 2 years. So at the end of 10 years, B would have spent to have boots at least $100, but by the end of 10th year, B may not have any boots at all also, because these boots will perish in every 2-year time period. So this is how rich remain rich throughout the time period. That is what the theory is pointing out, okay? Clear? So this is the boot theory of how poor remain poor and rich become rich by spending less. All right, so the idea of becoming rich is that you spend less in the long term on items of consumption. Okay, so this is the theory that is pointed out in this article. हमारे exam point of view से the first 2 paragraphs of the article become more important than the other part. The other part for it is general reading, आप लोगों की general understanding for, ठीक है, so this part of the article is for general understanding. What is skewed now से लेके moving on until the last part. This is part for general reading. ठीक है, this is reading. ये वाला part हमारे लिए important है exam से. All right. Yes, it points out that phrase जो आपने भी chat में बताया, महंगा लो एक बार और सस्ता लो बार बार, और rich bites once but the poor bites every day. So those kinds of phrases, they have been in existence. So it is talking about exactly that phenomenon in the article. So ये general reading के लिए, but first part is important for us कि how do we arrive at inflation figures, who tells us the inflation figures and what is their relevance, okay? Then we move on to regulation and not prohibition. So I'll come to the left one later, regulation and not prohibition, okay? This one is in relation to the latest judgment by Karnataka High Court, okay? And that judgment talked about a principle from the judgment of State of Bombay versus RMD Charbugwala, alright? So the judgment of State of Bombay versus RMD or RMD Charbugwala. Now what is this judgment about, okay? This is the case RMD Charbugwala versus Union of India. The test in that case is known as the Pre-Ponderance Test. This is the principle. ये आपके legal current affairs के लिए important है. This topic is important for your legal current affairs. ठीक है? What is the test? Pre-Ponderance Test. If we are stating, let's say there are 2 things that you are comparing. One is illegal, the other is legal. जैसे कि marijuana or any other thing. So marijuana has some medicinal properties. Marijuana has addictive properties also. if the properties of medical benefit of marijuana benefit or has a larger impact than the addictive side, then on basis of that we should allow marijuana to be legalized. That is a principle of preponderance. What was stated in the judgment? The judgment was, if the element of skill is dominant over the element of chance, it is a game of skill and cannot be ruled gambling. कोई भी चीज लीगल कब होती है? When any contract, you all must have read in your contract preparation or study of law of contracts कि anything that is wager is not legal. ठीक है? We all know about this. So a game of skill, क्रिकेट इज अ गेम ऑफ स्किल, बट उसमें भी वेजर हो सकता है, गैम्बलिंग हो सकती है, एडिक्शन हो सकता है किसी को भी, कोई भी वीडियो गेम भी उसी तरीके से एलिमेंट ऑफ स्किल एंड एलिमेंट ऑफ वेजर हो सकता है. in any game of cards eventually it does come down to the cards that you get, but उसके बाद भी आपका skill required होता है. someone may have poor cards, may still win the game. So should you ban such games? That is the question. Okay, so to decide whether to ban something or not to ban, so what is the purpose of the test? Whether to ban something or not. Whether to ban, अगर ये सवाल है, so the question will be decided by the preponderance test. The preponderance test tells, उसकी bottom line क्या है? If it is a game of skill, ठीक है, game of skill is legal and cannot be banned. If the skill level is more in comparison to the harms, chance, addiction, gambling, then it will always be held legal. Why is this important? Using this principle of preponderance test, what has the Karnataka High Court held? That online games are legal. This is something that Madras High Court, Karnataka High Court have also done. Okay, so this article is talking about this judgment and the principle. So हमारे लिए principle important है, Supreme Court की judgment important है. So the preponderance test. Anything which is more positive than negative is legal. Yes, Middat. Very rightly pointed out. Anything that has more benefit than harm. So harm versus benefit analysis करते हैं हम. अगर benefit ज़्यादा है तो then we will call it legal. That is the preponderance test. Okay. And then lastly, the last part of it is pointing out about how इस साल के यूनियन बजट में सरकार ने एक टास्क फोर्स सेटअप किया है फॉर प्रमोशन ऑफ animation, visual effect, gaming and comic promotion task force. This will be set up in this budget and this sector has capacity to actually promote much more employment. It is called a sunrise sector. एक और चीज जो आपको पता होनी चाहिए, what is a sunrise sector? Sunrise sector is something that is an upcoming potential economic beneficial सेक्टर. अपकमिंग होता है, इट हैज़ मोर बेनिफिट, एम्प्लॉयमेंट चांसेस होते हैं. जैसे यू कैन से कि ऑयल इंडस्ट्री इज नाउ एट अ सनसेट सेक्टर. ऑलराइट, पीपल आर मूविंग अवे फ्रॉम ऑयल और कंबशन इंजन, पीपल आर मूविंग टूवर्ड्स इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स. सो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स इज अ सनराइज सेक्टर. बैटरी प्रोडक्शन इज अ सनराइज सेक्टर. एनीथिंग दैट इज अपकमिंग, जो फ्यूचर में बेटर होगी, ग्रोइंग अप, और एनीथिंग दैट इज गोइंग टू expand in future, that is known as a sunrise sector. ठीक है, that is also important for all of us. So with this we will move on now to the editorial on the left. The editorial on the left is Biden is risking his Indo-Pacific strategy. The article is stating कि US has been focusing on the past 2 years कि Indo-Pacific is an area, counter China, that US policy should counter China. But what is happening right now? US is predominantly occupied in protecting Europe. कि Russia should not expand, Russia should not move into Ukraine. But ignoring what China, what is the other country that the article is claiming is a contemporary of Russia or challenger to America, that is China. Unlike his predecessor, that is Donald Trump, Joe Biden is far more placated on the level of China. कि ठीक है, they are coming up, we will not counter them, because he is far more focused on Russia. And that is what this article is, कि he is risking too much by focusing on Russia, which is not that important. Indo-Pacific is the region where the majority of economic rise of future is going to happen. Biggest economies of the world or upcoming economies of the world are in Indo-Pacific region. By focusing too much on Russia, America is risking exploitation and falling back in its race with China. That is the purpose of the editorial. Foreign policy level pe it's important, but see, this is all speculative. America may focus on both the things. That can also happen. What would be the scenario with Russia in future, we do not know. So it is a speculative article. Then state of play, nothing of note. Then we come to on international news, national news. India sends first batch of aid to Afghanistan. What has India done? Afghanistan के trucks में India has sent wheat of 1000 truckloads. ठीक है? Where is it going to? It is going to the city of Jalalabad in Afghanistan. Where is it heading from? The Atari Wagah border. Okay, Atari Wagah border from outside the city of Amritsar, on the outskirts of the city of Amritsar. वहाँ से the trucks are going to the city of Jalalabad in Afghanistan, where India is providing food assistance. Okay, the other name that you have to note down here, okay, is World Food Program Country Director Bitchaw Prajuli. All right, so his name becomes important, and who assisted in the negotiation for this, that is Farid Mamunz, Mamundzza. All right, just to not pronounce it incorrectly, so you can just note it down. Okay, and what is the name of it? The wheat shipment is specially stamped with gift from the people of India to the people of Afghanistan. One distinction is that this is not an aid to the Taliban government, but is an aid to the people of Afghanistan. Okay, so this is the headline that you have to note down. Okay, apart from this, most countries looking for diplomatic solution. India, Air India flight brought 254 people from Kiev. The spelling of Kiev is something that is of note. यहाँ पे Kiev की spelling K-I-E-V है, and in other maps nowadays, Ukraine in one map uses K-I-E-E-V, and in other maps it uses K-Y-I-V. Okay, so you can note both the spellings of Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine. All right, then we move on. Apart from this, nothing of note. Election news, not important for us. Finance Minister rebuts Supreme Court warns freebies, nothing of note. Then we come to international news. What does the recognition mean for Ukraine crisis? Okay, ये analysis भी हमने discuss कर लिया है in regard to on the front page. The one more thing that you have to note down: Germany suspends Nord Stream gas pipeline. Okay. Nord Stream 2 is a gas pipeline that connects Russia and Germany. All right, this is direct gas supply. It is also seen as a big economic contribution to the Russian economy that has now been suspended by Germany in wake of the recognition of the two separatist provinces of Ukraine. Okay, clear? So this is the note. China walks a tightrope. Like India, China is also walking a tightrope. It has recognized. It has not openly criticized Russia. We have also not openly criticized Russia. Okay, and then it also has moved on to state ki sovereignty of all countries should be respected. Something that is important. Okay, then we move on. Apart from this, on a general level, whatever I have explained to you, okay, all of it is written in these two articles. So अगर आपको interest है तो you can read it. This is also talking about the history of Ukraine creation, कि कब Ukraine create हुआ था. It was created as a separate nation in 1918 by the Bolshevik Revolution, जो Russian Revolution कहते हैं, जिससे Communist Party Russia became a Soviet state. Then in 1991 Soviet Union disintegrated and became a separate country. ये story सबको पता ही है in general. Nothing of note in that regard. All right, that's why I skipped it. Apart from this, inflation at record high in cash-strapped Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka को हमने already 900 million की direct aid provide करी है, plus loan deferment because the economy is suffering badly and lacks foreign exchange for their investments, all of this. So inflation is rising there. That is the note. Okay, crude oil poses key risk to financial stability because the price war की वजह से अब price of crude oil may rise even more. Oil touches $100, so fuel prices may rise even more. Elections खत्म होते ही इंडिया में fuel prices will going to rise. Okay, that is something known. Sport level पे nothing of note particularly. Then we move on to text and context. Examining the Russia-China axis. This is in regard to what has been the close relationship of Russia and China. A recent news report was pointed out that Global Times, which is the newspaper of the Communist Party, they wrote an article that now that sanctions will be imposed on Russia, China will come to the aid of Russian economy, something they have done to the Iranian economy in recent time after sanctions was imposed, and how they are getting closer and closer together to each other. This is all general discussion on the topic of their closeness. Then the next thing is relationship between LIC and IDBI Bank. This article is talking about कि अभी तक IDBI Bank is owned by LIC. 50% of its ownership is by LIC. Will it retain the ownership now that LIC itself is getting private? Some stake of it is being sold to private investors. What is the state of holding of IDBI Bank? Can the IDBI Bank still survive or not? That is the question, not so important for us particularly. And lastly, Meta's AI supercomputer. Okay, how are supercomputers changing current technological landscape? Is Facebook's latest innovation going to expand metaverse experience? Okay, now this is talking about the device. Ab supercomputers are those that can analyze data at a far more exponential level than the ones that we have. Okay, so in that regard, what is we have to note? Facebook parent Meta announced January that it's building an AI supercomputer, AI research supercluster. Okay, and it will be the world's fastest supercomputer in the world once built by mid 2022. Okay, supercomputers can do far more complex data connections, and they can foretold what users can do. They can predict all of this, and data is the new currency. That is something that is the hope. Okay, what is the role of supercomputers in RAC? Is a futuristic science पे based है this article. Nothing of particular note for us as of now. The name and the company which is planning to build the biggest supercomputer is something you can note down. Okay, the current biggest Bell Square XH3000. Okay, that is a supercomputer that exists right now. That is all that we have to note in today's newspaper. This okay. Now anyone with any doubts? सबकी कर रहा है कि इंडिया बट यहाँ का भी इन्फ्लेशन ज़्यादा तो हो ही गया. Then who will help India? Who will help India? We'll have to help ourselves. All right, reduce our consumption of reliance on external factors such as crude oil. Move to an economy that is less reliant on crude oil. That is the way to address inflation in the country. Okay, now with this we conclude our today's newspaper analysis. Now a lot of things to note down, so एक बार में quick revision. Montevideo Convention, okay, then yeah, before I talk about the next topic, if you have liked the analysis till now, do ensure that give this video a like or give it a thumbs up if you have liked the video or the analysis. That means a lot to us, so therefore this is a healthy reminder for all of you that if you like the analysis, do ensure that you like it. If you are new to the channel, do subscribe to it for your future updates, not just on current affairs but every other topic related to your entrance exam preparation. So do give a subscribe to the Unacademy Law channel and do give a like to the current analysis. On that note, the next thing that we had discussed is the provinces of Ukraine. Okay, Donetsk and Luhansk. Okay, apart from it is the unilateral sanctions. Okay, then we discussed today the concept of inflation. So inflation calculation, Then we have Lokpal and Article 164. Okay. Then also Presidential College, the system of Electoral College. ठीक है. All right, and lastly we discussed about supercomputers, and then the legal GK topic of Pre-Ponderance Test. Pre-Ponderance Test, if skill is more, benefit outweigh the harms, then that is something that will be called legal. Okay, so the Pre-Ponderance Test, all of this is very, very important. Okay, so all these topics are related to your current affairs. They range from economics to international affairs to legal current affairs. So do make sure ki you do your revision of this topic very properly. This is a very important topic for discussion for all of you. So on that note, we will be concluding. Now, before I conclude, again, I want to highlight to all of you that if you are a student who is preparing for the examination and wants to study for CLAT 2023, on February 25, we will be beginning a new batch where I will be teaching current affairs to all of you. So the batch is known as Let's Crack CLAT, and you can subscribe to it using the code KUSHGK. Okay. And if you are a student who is preparing for the state entrance examinations right away, abhi se, then you can subscribe to the Mighty Legal Crash Course. The batch begins today onwards, that is February 23rd, and the classes for GK begin from February 25. Okay, so do make sure अगर आप state entrance examinations की preparation कर रहे हैं static GK के लिए, then you do subscribe to this at the earliest. Do not miss out. Okay. And if you are looking for CLAT 2022 की preparation के लिए, so the batch is Rank Booster, which will be beginning from February 23rd again, and I will be taking your classes for current affairs. So if you are looking for that, then do subscribe to either of the three batches and use the code KUSHGK to subscribe. And you all should take the Iconic subscription. Why? Because in Iconic you can get live one-on-one mentorship. That is how to study, what all to study, kitna revision, time management, your analysis of your mock test, how to improve your scores section wise. All of this can be done through your discussions with your mentors. You can book your own slots through that. So do make sure that you subscribe to it. And for 3-year NLS batch courses, then the batch began on February 21, that is Let's Crack NL SAT. Okay, students of can take 3-month subscription for 2022, and 2023 aspirants can take a 12 months to 9-month subscriptions for your preparation. Use the code KUSHGK to avail a 10% discount on your subscription fees as of right now. Okay. Now, on February 26th, there is a mock test for all of you, that is SLAT, and on Friday, there is a weekly T20 test on the English language, so do not miss out on those. Lastly, before all of you leave, do make sure that you register for CLAT Combat. Take a minute, go to the description of this video and do appear for this quick test of 60 minutes. This will also see how your speed is in comparison to other students. It will also tell you how much knowledge as of right now you have retained abhi tak ke CLAT ke liye, because it is not just about scholarships for Unacademy subscription. It is also an exciting way for you to analyze how you are preparing on a realistic level with your competition. Students across the country will be participating. So description के अंदर CLAT Combat का link है. Do make sure now that the video is ending that you register for this. Prepare for it at 3 p.m. on February 27. It will be a 1-hour thing. 50 questions, live score will be there, and you stand a chance to win amazing prizes such as Google Mini Speaker, JBL headphones, Boat smartwatches, and other Amazon vouchers, including up to 100% scholarship for students who are not yet subscribers. So do make sure that you do that. Use the code KUSHGK to enroll. Do not miss out on it. Okay. And the notes of our discussion for the day, all of it will be available on bit.ly/KUSHGK notes and the community tab of Unacademy, that is unacademy.com/community/YGRJJZ. So I will be uploading the notes there. And lastly, if you have any doubts related to anything, you can connect with me on the Telegram channel, that is Kushagra Goyal the legal game _Unacad. On that note, thank you so much. अगर आपने अभी तक वीडियो को लाइक नहीं किया है तो प्लीज़ डू लाइक इट, गिव इट अ thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Every day we do it at 12 PM. So see you all. Until then, bye.